Hello. It's pretty nasty outside, isn't it? I wanted to make this, well, I didn't really want to. Something told me to make this video because it's something that everybody goes through of the retelling of old stories, like especially when we get old, like with our kids or with our wife, be like, oh, remember that one time I did tell you this story about da 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 da, and it just keeps coming back, right? Well, so I kind of want to do that now. And then so it doesn't have to come back, right? Right. I have so much of this stuff in my life along these lines. Um, you should read the book Candide. It's by Voltaire. It's a French book. It's really thin. I mean, you read it in a couple hours if you wanted to, and it's very much like my life has been. Um, in the story, it's like in that story, it's like I don't remember the exacts, but it's like so this guy's a prince, and then he runs into his dream lover, and then right as like she's like, "Hey, let's go get together somewhere," and then right when that's about to happen, then they get invaded by somebody, and then he gets imprisoned and taken on a boat, and then they're about ready to kill him, but then a storm happens, and then everybody dies, but then he swims to shore, and then the natives find him, and then they're like, "Oh, it's God, it's our God," and then then they're having a big old party, and then he doesn't realize they're planning to sacrifice him. But then some people show up and kill all the natives, and then he's going with those guys, and it just comes back and back, and it just keeps going like that. That's my life. All right. So, but I wanted to it just runs around in our head sometimes, right? Like some memories that I have, like so the first pet I ever got was my grandmother, or I don't know, somebody got me a little black rabbit called Blackie, and I only had it like a day or two, but it had to stay in the cage outside, and then like immediately within a couple days I go out and the cage door's open and the rabbit's gone. So they got me a little Blackie, and then somebody let loose, so I couldn't have it. That sounds like a mean joke, right? Uh, and then um, like right before I was born, my mom and my dad got in a fight, and then like a month before, and then he goes out, he sleeps with some woman, gets her pregnant, but everybody knows about it, and he comes back right after I'm born, sticks around for a month, then runs away. And 16 years later, we moved back to that town, and my best friend is dating a girl, and my mom's like, "Who's your mom?" "That's weird. How old are you?" "That's weird." "Huh. You go ask your mom who your dad is." Turns out she's my sister. Dating my best friend, and uh, well, my uh, my mom, we're living at my grandma's house off and on for the first 5 years of my life. She gets in with this supposed Texas Ranger that's in South Dakota, because at the B&B back porch where both my mom and my grandma used to work, there was supposed to be a drug dealer named Donnie Iceland that that was selling bad drugs in town, right? So then she's dating this U.S. Marshal, this Texas Ranger, right? And but she doesn't know it at first. And then I get into his closet. Now this is the story I'm told, and get into his drug test kit, and so I have this scar on my side from a chemical burn from a drug test kit from a Texas Ranger, when he's supposed to be taking care of his shit, and so's my mom. And he's there to bust some people for bad drugs when I get burned by the drug test kit. See, these are all weird freaking light jokes, right? And then, so then my mom and me get in his Jeep or whatever to the store, and the wheels almost fall off because supposedly somebody loosened him. Finding out that he was the ranger after him, and nothing happened to us. But then he puts her in the witness protection program, supposedly, and so then moves us to Rapid City, puts her in nursing school. She can learn how to take care of her son, right? I guess it's a joke. And so then we're staying in the Colonial Motel, and she's going to nursing school. I'm going to the babysitter all the time, and the babysitter taught me how to tie my shoes, not my mom. That's weird. Which comes back later when I'm with my stepdad, where he started making fun of me because he watched me tie my shoes once. He tells me I'm tying it backwards, so that was something to beat on me about. Oh, look, Josh has his shoes backwards. Oh, yeah? Like, because she sat behind me or in front of me instead of behind me to teach me how to do it. Huh. And I get electrocuted and about killed because there's just, I don't know why. I mean, it's just a stupid kid thing. I go to pull the TV socket out, couldn't get it out. I bite down on it, try to pull it out with my teeth, boom. I wake up, Yeah, I guess lightning likes me. But, so then, there's thousands of these stories. Here's a good one. So, I'm kind of at a dead end here in Alva at one point, and then a friend of mine calls me after several years from Spurf, South Dakota, right, and from my hometown, says, well, hey, Shane, like, he has a room for you, and we can help you get on your feet up here or whatever. There's a lot more opportunities. And so he comes down and gets me with his sister's car, and then as soon as we get there, he loads a bowl, and I don't know what was in this stuff to smoke, but I've never been so gone. I was terrified. I don't know. This wasn't normal pie. I don't know. I was fucking terrified for 48 hours, and all the stuff was in my friend's car, and gone because they just dropped me off or took off with my stuff, and then I'm in Shane's house, just lost. And a whole bunch of people come over and hey, how you doing? And I'm like, okay. You remember me? Okay. And so I'm sleeping on the floor, and he brings me this stuff the next day. Turns out Shane's been, selling pot on the side before it was legal from Colorado and all this stuff. And he's crippled, getting back money from workers' comp and all this. So he's rolling in dough, And I'm sleeping on the floor, and he ain't helping me with shit. But I get a job at McDonald's, right? So I'm walking in McDonald's every day because I've always had to take the hard way. It doesn't matter how good anybody around me is doing. They don't do shit for me. I mean, they'll do the least bit. Be like, well, I'll give you a ride. See, I do everything for you. You don't have to walk. And so I'm your God now. Wow. Okay. And as soon as I come up with a reason, now I'm going to hurt you. Wow. Okay. This is great. So then even though he has all this pot stuff, and since I was about 15, I'd smoke just a little bit, maybe one little bowl every night after work, because it's the only thing that ever calmed me down, make sure that I could sleep every night, eat well, and it handled my anxiety. They made sure there was nowhere to be found, and would leave the house every day before I had to go to work to make sure that I had to walk, to make sure that I always had the hard way. It never helped me. Well, so I'm working there a couple of months, and I'm doing a lot of praying at the time and reading religious texts. At that time it was Buddhism, and just, walking to the park and just being with myself, being the best person I could possibly be. And I'm working the night shift at McDonald's, right? And they're making me do all the dishes every night, which whatever. And then somebody spills a whole pan of grease on the floor and doesn't say nothing. And I slip and I bust my back. So I can't come to work. And I call in, and the owner calls me in and sits me down and gets in my face and tells me, "Well, how old are you? You're 23. Oh, well, maybe you're too old for this job. Like, you should just probably fire yourself and get out of here instead of paying workers' comp." And treats me like shit right there. And I've always been such a nice guy that everybody just stomps me down and sets me up. And I keep going along, and I'm taking care of whatever the hardest thing that anybody needs to do, right? It's just continually been that. I don't know. It's just wrong, right? And so the owner of the McDonald's in Spearfish did that. So then I moved back, I'm still living with Shane. I get this job at Sanford's. And then all of a sudden, Shane comes up with a reason like that I can't stay there. I can't remember what it was. Maybe he was moving or whatever. But then I find this other guy I can stay with. So now I stay with that guy. And it's closer to my new job. But then 2 months in, then all of a sudden, I don't have anywhere to go. Again, like everybody that picks me up is just like, drops me off or has an excuse to skip out or just bonks me on the head and ditches me on the roadside. And then whoever comes up next is the next person's like, "Oh, yeah, hey, I'll give you a ride." And then they pull me into the woods and they rape me and then they leave me for dead. And then the story just keeps going like this. It's terrible. Well, so then to continue this part of this story. So then like 3 days before I don't have anywhere to go, right? I'm staying with, I think his name is Troy. It really matters. Here's an irony. I think he already promised the place to another guy named Josh before I moved in. So I only had 2 months to stay there. And I called my mom, and I don't really have a way to get back home or whatever. And so I came up there just to be fucked around the whole time. This keeps happening in Madison and Alva and everywhere I go, where I don't have anywhere that I can ever find the ground. And everybody just keeps bumping me along. Well, so I called my mom crying, sitting on the side of the road, just watch the cars go by. And then I'm like, well, I don't have anything to do. I got like $100 in my name or some shit. I don't know where I'm gonna go. And then so I go to this bar, and like a couple blocks away, and I'm sitting there, and for whatever reason, since nothing ever goes right for me, but everything goes right for me whenever it goes wrong. And that's the only way it ever seems to go. Well, so then I'm sitting at this bar, right? And this biker guy comes over and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy some Coke?" And I'm like, "Fuck, what the fuck do I got to lose? I don't have anywhere to go in a couple of days, and I can't get home. Yeah, sure, I'll take $50 worth of Coke. I don't know, I don't fucking care." And then he doesn't come back. And I'm like, no fucking way. Everybody does me like this. Every fucking body, okay. Whatever. Well, the next night, I come back to the same bar, and I'm like, I wonder if he's going to show up. And then there's this other guy that's sitting there, and just sitting there, and I keep looking at him looking at me. All of a sudden, I'm like, he goes over to play pool, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to play a game of pool?" "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Man, I was in here last night. Some guy tried to sell me some Coke, and he took off in my money." He's like, "No shit? Was he like a guy like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the guy." He's like, "Dude, that guy was selling some Coke for me, and his ass is fucking grass. You wait here, I'll get you your fucking money or your Coke." So then he calls up the guy's head, the bike. He's in the biker gang. Calls up the fucking leader of the gang and the boys, and they go over and they fuck the guy up real bad. And he comes back. He's like, "Hey, here's $100 for your 50." And I'm like, "Sweet, I need some money to get a fucking place." And he's like, "Really? Well, hey, I got a deal. I'll give you an 8-ball here. If you can sell it, I'll give you half profit." I'm like, "Well, it's not like I have any choices, right?" every bad decision turns into the only good option I have. So then I just moved back to town. I don't know anybody, but I know everybody because I used to live there for so long. And so ironically, within like 4 hours, just everywhere I go, I'm like, "Oh, hey, I ain't seen you in a long time. What's up? Hey, you want a gram of Coke? $100? Sure." Okay, boom. I'm like, damn, that's weird. Everything's going right now. For me making a bad, like, what would be considered the bad decision? But it's not like I had any other choices. It was the only options that came up. And so, like, in 3, 4 hours, I just show up at his house. I'm like, here's your money. He's like, holy fuck. You fucking made a magic. Damn, I got people that sell me forever and they can't move shit that fast. You sure? You sure you didn't rob somebody? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And he's like, you know what? You're the fucking best dude I've ever met. You're like straightforward as fuck. Uh, and it turns out this guy, he's like a son of a college professor. And he's all read up. He's got library. He's basically like a version of me if I would have grown up in a middle class good family, playing both sides, in the drugs and in the smarts, rather than totally at the top and totally at the bottom, holding the middle line, right? And so he's like, well, I got this guy in Deadwood. You need a place to stay. I can put you up with him, and I need you to watch his ass because I think he's cut my shit. I'm like, okay, let's go meet him. All right, tomorrow? Be good? And I'm like, yeah, I only got like 2 days left I can stay at my house. He's like, right on. So we go up there, and we sit in the bar, and the guy shows up, and I'm like, holy shit, I know this guy. Hey, what's up, Chris? Chris is like, hey, where you been? Hey, I remember you and your sister and all that shit. How are you guys doing? Oh, pretty good, whatever. And he's like, I'm like, well, this dude wants me to move in with you. Is that cool? I mean, I'm supposed to like be part of whatever we're doing. And just supposed to make sure you're straight. I don't know. And he's like, all right, cool. So then we do that. I move in with him and I take my piece of shit car, which I didn't have a car when I got there. But then somebody's like, oh, hey, I got a car for you. This lady I know, this chick, her husband is in prison, but she's real pissed at him, and his car's out front and needs moved, but the brakes don't work. And so, like, I just happen to have the person to fix the brakes on it. Like, they just lines in it, need to be bled, and brake fluid, boom, So I had this, like, $100 car. I heard, like, $500 cars. Well, so then, as soon as I get to Deadwood, that was the last time that car ever started. And I'm like, okay, well, I got a long wish for $100. And now I'm here. And so then Saturday night or whatever, we go down and like there's like me, Chris that's like running the coke, whatever. I didn't touch any of it. I'm just living with him. I don't know. I got moved there. And then like there's like the main guy's girlfriend's there to collect the money, and then like a tough dude to like make sure that everybody's safe. And so we just sit there and have drinks or whatever. He goes and runs the stuff around. And then the next weekend, they don't show up. Turn out all of them went to jail. It's just me and Chris. And they're like, that's weird. Now the lines are being cut again. At least I got a place to live. Well, so then I get 3 jobs, right? I'm working a morning shift because I keep trying to get my life together, and it keeps getting cut off repeatedly. I can't do nothing good enough, right? And if I'm perfect, then I'll never move up, and somebody always finds some way to like cut me back. Well, so then I got a job at a place that sells these fancy shoes with springs in the back. On top of it's an ice cream store, and it's also a coffee house. So I'm a barista there in the morning, and then I work at I worked at a pub and pizza in the afternoon, and then I was a cage cashier in the evenings. So like I was working 3 jobs or some shit. Well, then come back after one day, I worked there a couple months, and then my manager, the one under the bosses, steals some money out of the ice cream drawer. And since she knows them from longer, she just said, it must have been Josh. And they fucking get in my face, all this shit. We trusted you, all this. I'm like, I didn't fucking do nothing. It had to have been her. No, it's not her. And they fired me. And this happens a lot, where the person that does everybody wrong points at me, and then they get to stay in the house and rob everybody. And I get kicked out, and I'm the one looking after the place. So then I get fired from that job. And so, yeah, I can't call that reference anymore. That's how my references go. Even though I was a fucking bomb employee. And so then, that's pretty much the end of that like die. Oh no. So then, so now I lose that job, and I'm working as a cage cashier and the pub and pizza, right? And then like a month later, I get off. It was like a late shift. I get off like 1 in the morning, and I have my after work shift beer because that's how it works in Deadwood. You get to drink. Everybody there's an alcoholic, and that's not really something for me though. You know, everybody. I enjoy drinking sometimes. But everybody there doesn't own a car and is alcoholic and has a huge record, you know, I don't know. And so I go have a couple more beers and I get home and I go to lay down. And then all of a sudden, and, you know, Chris is in the end of the room with a whole bunch of people partying. And I don't care. You know, everybody can do whatever they want. You know, I'm not going to get you in trouble. Don't get me in trouble. And so and all of a sudden he comes out and he's like, oh, and the day before I paid the rent. It was like October 29th, and I paid the rent for the next month. So I guess he came up with a plan how he was going to get me out of the house. He was going to keep my money so he can go buy a bunch of drugs and start his own thing. And he was making a plot with him in there. So then he comes out, he gets in my face and all this stuff, and tries to get me to hit him and everything, so he called the cops. And he like gets up here, and I just barely touch him. I'm like, get out of my face. And he throws himself through the bedroom door and slides across the floor and splits his head on the chair that his friend's sitting in. And I'm just like, holy fuck. And everybody's like, what'd you just do? So I didn't fucking do nothing. He threw himself through the door. Oh, whatever. You know, and then it starts a whole mob of them on my ass again. And I'm like, fuck, am I ever going to be safe? You know? And then it goes on and on and on. We're out in the yard and all this shit. You know, they're trying to get me to fight. But, you know, if I ever touch anybody, everybody's going to kill me, and whether I did anything or not. So then I'm not allowed to touch anybody, but everybody's allowed to lay hands on me. It's fucked up. Right? So then it finally stops. I go inside. I lay down. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. I hear the door. And as I'm walking to the door, behind where the door opens, he wrote on the wall before I even got home how he was going to get me out of the house. It wrote it in marker on the wall. As an admission of guilt that he had set it up. What? How fucking stupid are you? So then I open the door and it's a cop. And I'm like, and he's like, what happened? I tell him, he's like, well, he has a mark on him and there's witnesses. I said, there's no witnesses. The door was shut. Where's the mark on him? He said you did. So I take you to jail. What the fuck? Look at this right behind the door. Okay, well, whatever. I'm taking jail. So I sit in jail line to come back and hope my stuff is still there. I come back next day. Oh, no. And I couldn't come back to the house except for with the police to get my stuff. After I had paid all the rent and he thought I was going to keep it. Luckily, the landlord, who he had figured, this landlord doesn't like nobody and never give anybody their money back. I go to the landlord, and the landlord's like, I can tell you're a good guy. Here's your $400 back. Fucking hey, thanks, I need that. And I went there. And then I walked into work. I was late to wait tables or something, and bartend, I don't know. And then one of the housekeepers is like, "Hey, you need a place to stay?" I'm like, "Actually, yeah, please." Here we go again. So then she drives me up there. We call the police so they can come let me get my stuff out. And now it's in Lead, so it's like 10 miles away. It's too far to walk to work. And so I move in with her. And she has like nothing in her house. I guess I didn't see the signs. And I'm like, here, you want the rent? She's like, no, you don't have to pay me any rent this month. I'm like, what? Yeah, seriously. I'm like, well, fuck. Here, I'll spend the rent money on you. It looks like you could use some stuff. Here, I'll get you a dish drainer. I'll get you a vacuum cleaner. I'll get you a plate. I'll get you all the shit you need, you know, for $250. My rent would be next month. So, okay. Come 2 weeks later, I find out that she's an addict, and so is her son, and they have some kind of scheme going on, and she tells me she needs the rent money. Otherwise, She can call her ex-husband. They're all gonna come fuck me up and everything. After I just took care of her, she could have had the money. I offered it to her. I did everything. I took care of her like any good man would do, and didn't hold back. And then there she is, wanting to kill me again, throw me on the streets. I'm like, holy fuck, is this ever gonna stop? Well, at the time, so then I'd just gotten a girlfriend. And turns out my girlfriend is staying in a side room with these people. So I'm like, fuck, at least I get somewhere to go again. Shit. So then I move in there. And it turns out one of the guys that always come over the house has a thing for her. And this guy is really crazy. He almost actually literally stabbed me when I was doing their dishes. While I'm taking care of them, then they're also in the next room joking about how he actually came up behind me, I find out later, with a knife, and he was all joking like he was actually going to murder me to have my girlfriend. And so then I finally get the money together, get out of there, and it just continues. My entire life is this. While everybody fucking couldn't have a better person to take care of them in any way. And that's how my story of COVID was. The first time around this presidency, where every step of the way I'd be given only the news and then be hung to get maybe an advantage or to beg God when people are listening in and watching so that they could set me up again and set me up again and set me up again and set me up again, where my landlord, his boss, the sheriff's office, and who knows who's on the side of good or bad, but it all goes back to Noam and Trump. You know, there's a string of hands always in it, but I'm never taken care of. I'm always getting fucked. And there's a chain of command here, you know. So I'm waiting for things to go right, because I don't do people wrong. I'm about the most trustworthy person on the planet, probably. So I'd like to get rid of that story. This nasty story of this great guy that is flawed like anybody else, but fuck, I don't take advantage of anybody. I don't take anybody for granted. I do what people ask of me, and whether it's to a fault or not, if I were done anything less, then I wouldn't be worth as much. And I don't know. I mean, how much could you do for anybody if they're always going to slit your throat at the end of the day? And then if so many different organizations and people in power are supposed to be taking care of you and all their hands are dirty in it, but you can never get up, then where's the place where you can start a life? When any time I try to start a business or do anything, you know, the people that I really respect, and I thought we were a team together, if anybody's supposed to be looking after me, then they're not doing a good job, because I can never get up in life. I'm always just giving the news so they can take more, and then they get higher, you know. So I'm looking for good opportunities, but I always get set up every single time. I mean, they took all my money that I gained in COVID. They even locked me out of my Coinbase. So my investments in there, I can't get to. I have an NFT that's worth twice what it was last year. I don't know if it's worth more. I think it's worth more than when I bought it, but I can't access that either. So, like, what good is cryptocurrency to me? When it was going good for a while, when I invested in, but then a whole bunch of entities were following me around, and and I'd make an investment and instantly go down, and I pull it out and it instantly go up, and I could track this with my friends. I'm like, see this? Look, it's like I'm in control of the system, but no, they're watching me and they're making sure that I would lose. And so when I pulled out, boom, the whole market crashed. And then they locked me out of the accounts where I had investments still. I mean, I probably got $3,000 or more in cryptocurrency. I can't get to it. So what good is decentralized money if it's unaccountable and I can't even call Coinbase to get a hold of them? What kind of fucking business is that where they have your money? I can prove who I am. I have a good record with them. Like they have my money. Well, why can't I get it? That's not a good place to put your money. Fuck. I mean, at least I think I could trust the bank. I mean, I'm not going to trust, the chain of command all the way back, but I've never had, any money missing out of my bank account. Well, unless, yeah, I have. Nobody could have this bad of luck and be this good a person unless everybody was in on it. In this town, I've had my child murdered, my cat murdered, I've almost been murdered, and by a bar in town, straight across from the bar, owned by who? Yeah. And I've had a couple girlfriends in town, and only afterwards I found out that a whole bunch of guys in town were fucking them. So this town has it out for me. So why don't I have too many guy friends? Huh, I wonder. Why am I popular with ladies? From a distance? Because I'm a catch. But that's why it's made sure that I don't have any money and I don't have any property because they'll make sure that I don't have nothing. So that I can't ever have a good life. But that's bad karma on everybody involved outside of here unless they raise me up. But either way, everybody has to pay for what they did. That's on God, right? I mean, if you gain off of keeping somebody down, then you don't deserve what you got. Right? Doing to others as you do unto you and your own family, right? So why would you hurt anybody? Why would you keep somebody down? Especially if you're a part of a powerful organization. Like the Masons, like the presidency, like the federal, the state. Oh yeah, with Chris. So I brought the proof to court, and instead of them throwing it out, they made me come to 7 continuances. And then they made me pay $300 to be thrown on the street and beaten. So everybody got to beat me up. For what? For fun? And the law's been in on it. On both sides. Sure, they don't arrest me for one thing, but then they make sure to take advantage of the other way around. It's really strange. Nobody should have to put up with that. Everyone should have a fair chance in life. And that much disadvantage to anybody deserves reciprocal. Like the state of South Dakota easily owes me a $2 million suit, easily. Oh, but they keep making sure that everything's moved around and everybody's paid off and moved from their positions, and that I don't have any money to hire a lawyer, and so on and so forth, so that I never have a way out. So I'm always at the pit, and everybody can kick the shit out of me while I'm taking care of everybody, and all those with money just sit around and laugh about it while they got all their kids and their money and don't have to do nothing. That's not very good system. That's not very good people. When, shit, I'd be the best judge you ever had. Officer, post carrier, president, any of that shit. Instead, we got dirty people up there. They don't take care of their own people. And they make sure the people below them do all the dirty work so that there are no good people, to make sure everybody's scarred. And it turns into backstabbing, sneaky motherfuckers. Like, why does anybody hide? What are we sneaking around about? If people are taken care of, then people are taken care of. Where's an advantage? There's no advantage in doing people dirty. There's zero. Just like what? Sacrifice your entire life and everything you're gaining in the future, your entire family, your kids, for what? Just to go, I got away. Oh, now I can get my kid a car. I get the money for that. You know, that's stupid. Why would anybody ever do that? When we gotta think about everybody. I mean, that's the whole reason for the system, right? It's the whole reason for the concept of a family, right? Well, I have a bunch more stories, but I don't want to tell you more right now. I guess you got the point across. I'm gonna fold some laundry. As I got to work today, because I was homesick yesterday, now she replaced me on Mondays with some other girl. You know, when I started here, there was a girl that would only do nothing. And every time she'd be like, hey, can you do this paper for me? No. Okay. Will you do this for me? No. Okay. Will you do this for me? No. Okay. We trained her? No. And she let her work here and paid her for nothing, absolutely nothing. I do everything. And as soon as I said that I needed a day off sick, and then she started on me. She started fighting with me last night. And when I came today, she started screaming at me, cut my hours. Because I wouldn't lay on the floor and let her walk on me. But she didn't let anybody else do it. Anybody else. My mom's the same. It's like, it just goes around. Anybody can, but Josh comes along and I gotta take a fine-tooth comb through every fucking thing and be grateful to breathe the oxygen. And as soon as there's anything, even if they're mistaken, boom, I'm ripping your dick off and kicking you downstairs, motherfucker. I replace you, you're nothing. I don't like nobody should have to do with that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Why would anybody hurt anybody? And try to keep anybody down, huh? And try to use people as property for an advantage. I mean, if you're gonna sacrifice anybody, you already sacrificed everybody, and especially you and yours. I mean, fuck, you might as well just sacrifice yourself. I keep doing that. That's the only way there's anything. Here, there, or anywhere. And it seems to make all the bad guys happy. So, hey, I'm bringing joy to the world, and I'm paying all the karma. Who's more deserving of a decent life? I'm gonna go do that laundry now. If I have anything later, who knows? I'm always here. See you later.